Welcome back to Research and to another episode of Buy or Buy. If it's your first time here, my name's Adriana and this channel is dedicated to sharing all the lessons I've learned and am learning as a new real estate investor. A couple of weeks ago, I put up a poll to see which projects you'd like to review together next. The people have spoken. Concord Sky was the winner. Don't forget to check out my community page moving forward. I'm going to be putting up polls there so that everyone can vote on which project we should review together next. All right, let's get started. This project is an 85-story tower with 1,106 units located at the southeast corner of Yonge and Gerard. I want to point out that in the radio and print ads that I've heard and seen so far, Concord Sky is identified as a 95-story tower, but I did check with the city and the application that's currently under review is only for an 85-story tower. So either the city's website is out of date or the developer is still in the process of negotiating the additional 10 floors. This project has been a long time in the making. The original application was submitted in 2015, and here is the original concept. There have been multiple iterations since then, and this is the latest rendering of what we can expect the project to look like. Concord Sky officially falls within the Church Street corridor neighborhood, and between 2011 and 2016, the population grew by 10.6%. which is higher than the City of Toronto's average within the same period. Now, the population data is dated, and there's supposed to be another update to capture population growth between 2016 and 2021, but at the time of this video, that data hasn't been made available yet. Next, let's go through the research checklist. If you haven't seen my video on why this is the checklist, I'm gonna link it here. This is the first project that I've reviewed that's this tall, and I was actually surprised at the amount of missing or inaccurate information. The height of the building is one thing, but I actually don't have enough information to complete the checklist. But let's go with what we have. The first item on the checklist are elevators. Is there a ratio of 1 elevator to service every 10 floors or better? So, at first glance, there are only 7 elevators to service 85 floors. So that would be a no. But I did dig into it a bit further, and from what I can tell, residential units will start on level 10. So that would mean that there would be 7 elevators to service 65 floors, which would be within the ratio, so that would be okay. From what I can tell on the developer's application, the first 10 floors will be dedicated to office or commercial space. Typically, in this kind of setup, you would have a separate bank of elevators to service the office and commercial floors. Now, I can't definitively check off this box because I don't know for sure if there will be a separate bank of elevators to service the first 10 floors. If you do happen to know, please comment below for everyone's benefit. Next, let's move on to pools. So as you know, my preference is for there to be no pool because of the operational and maintenance costs. But surprisingly, there's actually no information on the building amenities, which is a first for me. So I actually don't know if there's going to be a pool or not. Next is transit. So Concord Sky is located at the corner of Yonge and Gerard, which is right in between College and Dundas subway stations. You're about a 2-minute walk to College Station and a 4-minute walk to Dundas Station. We can definitely check this box off. Lastly, how about grocery stores? Well, within 8 minutes, you can get to 3 pretty big grocery stores. Well, actually, 2 really big ones and 1 city size. So the big one is the Loblaws, which is the one that has that huge wall of cheese, and the other 2 are Metros. Let's take a closer look at the developer. Concord is known for large-scale, multi-tower developments, and they are a Hong Kong-based developer led by this guy. They originally started developing in Vancouver in the 1980s, and then they started developing in Toronto as well. We should all be pretty familiar with them because they're the ones that developed City Place. Now, City Place is not the only community that they've developed, but it's certainly the most well-known. They have other towers within the downtown area, and they're also in North York as well. So there are no immediate red flags when it comes to Concord, except only a reputational one. The earlier City Place buildings developed a reputation for being cheap quality, but over time you can see that the quality aspect has improved in their newer projects. Now let's take a look at what's going on in and around the site to see if the views will get blocked. This site is bound by Ryerson University to the east and south, so the good news is that it won't be getting developed into more condos. The tallest buildings on the campus are 11 and 12 stories, so as long as you're above that, you won't be looking directly into another building. This seems to be in line with what the developer has planned, where residential units start from level 10. To the north, there's an application for a 69-story mixed-use tower. To the west, there's an application for a 73-story mixed-use tower. Both are going to be a similar concept where it's a mix of commercial in the first few floors and then residential afterwards. Both applications were submitted late last year, so sales will be a while away. On the other side of the street, diagonally across from Concord Sky, is Aura Condos, which is similar to Concord Sky in that it's a super tall residential building at 76 stories. Keep this building in mind because we'll come back to it later during projections. So, aside from the south and the east views, it looks like there may be 2 more super tall towers to the north and to the west of Concord Sky. Okay, let's review my top 2 picks for floor plans. My first pick is Unit 013. It's a 565 square foot, 1 bedroom, north-facing unit. What I like about this unit is the natural light that you'll get from all the windows. They've also created an efficient walk-in closet with these pocket doors here and what looks like built-in shelving. I also like that the laundry is far from the bedroom. What's also great about this unit is that it's a corner unit and not right next to the elevators, so there shouldn't be a lot of foot traffic. The outdoor space is very generous if you're able to get the 40th to 42nd floor units. What I don't like about this unit are these concrete columns here because they restrict what you can do with the space. For example, without any measurements, it's hard to determine what size of a bed you can comfortably fit in the bedroom. I also think 2 doors into the washroom is unnecessary. I would want to close off this entrance so that guests don't have to go through the bedroom to use the washroom. My second pick is Unit 042, which is a 615 square foot, 1 bedroom plus den, east-facing unit. What I like about this unit is the L-shaped kitchen, which will really add additional counter and storage space. The den being a separate and distinct space is useful for setting up a home office. Although there are no dimensions, the living space appears to be a comfortable depth, which I would consider to be 10 feet. The balcony runs the full width of the unit, so it's quite generous. What I don't like about this unit is this space they could have turned into a closet. Throw a pair of doors on there and it can be a very handy space to store your backstock of items or cleaning supplies. This unit is also right next to the elevators, so you should anticipate lots of foot traffic in front of your door. Let's move on to projections. From the information available on condos.ca, the average selling price per square foot in the neighborhood so far this year is $1,118. So once you churn out all the calculations, the average blended appreciation rate over the last 5 years is 7.54% year over year. Now, this project technically falls within the Church Street corridor boundaries, but remember Aura Condos across the street that's comparable to Concord Sky we spoke about earlier? Well, Aura falls into the Bay Street corridor, and that neighborhood has different stats. The delineator is because Concord Sky is on the east side of Yonge and Aura is on the west. Before we get into the numbers, I want to show you that the Bay Street corridor is more expensive than the Church Street corridor, but in practical terms, it's just across the street. What I want to point out is that Aura Condos has, for the majority of its life, outperformed the neighborhood average, except during the main COVID years. For example, if you take a look at 2017, the neighborhood average was $933 per square foot, but Aura was already over $1,000 a foot. So this would suggest that Concord Sky could also outperform the neighborhood average in the future, since it's quite similar to Aura in terms of stature in the neighborhood. Let's move on to the numbers. This is one of those projects that doesn't give you the exact price for the units, so we're going to have to do what we did last time, which is use the two known numbers to roughly calculate the price per square foot. I'm going to do this for each of the categories of my top 2 floor plan picks. The estimated occupancy is currently mid-2026, so let's project out until then to see what the units could be worth. This is the first project I've reviewed where they've already started excavation of the site, so occupancy starting in mid-2026 for the lower floors is possible. So, for the 1-bedroom category, it translates to at least $1,684 per square foot, and at least $1,768 per square foot for the 1-bedroom plus den category. Here's what it projects out to in 2026. Now, I know what you're thinking. Why don't we use the Aura condo numbers instead, since we're saying that the buildings are going to be pretty comparable in the future? Good idea. Let's do that and see what the numbers work out to. There's 7 years of sales data for Aura condos, so that's more than enough to go on. The average selling price per square foot in Aura condos so far this year is $1,254. The blended average appreciation rate over the last 5 years is 4.58% year over year. Here's what the numbers work out to when we use data from Aura condos. So even though Aura condos is a higher price per square foot compared to the immediate area, the rate of appreciation is actually lower than our first set of calculations. If you take a look at the last 5 years of data, only one of the 5 years saw a double-digit appreciation of 10%. Keep in mind that both sets of calculations do not take into account parking, locker, or floor premium costs. From the floor plans I've selected, they're actually not eligible for parking because they're not large enough. Lockers are also $18,000 a piece, which is officially the most expensive I've ever seen in Toronto. So, after everything we've analyzed, what is the verdict? Is Concord Sky a buy or buy? For me, Concord Sky is a buy for the following reasons. Number 1, investment period. This project is being advertised as a future Toronto landmark. This is one of those projects that you really need to hold on to long term in order to reap the benefits of it being a Toronto landmark in the future. And this can only happen over time. Right now, where I am in my investment journey, I am not in the position to make that type of long-term commitment. Number 2, projected profits. Now the numbers are indicating that the current price per square foot is overpriced for what the historical appreciation is supporting. Of course, this does not take into consideration how the market is currently behaving, where there are multiple bidding wars and areas that are exceeding the historical appreciation and outperforming what the evidence is supporting. In fairness to the developer, a lot of the construction costs have increased over the last 2 years, and perhaps what we're used to seeing is not financially feasible for the developer anymore. However, I do have 2 sets of data points that are supporting that this would not be a good investment for me if I had to sell the unit and not be able to hold on to it long term when occupancy starts. Number 3, interim occupancy period. I will be making a separate video where I'll go into the weeds of interim occupancy, but in short, because of the height of the tower, you're going to be in a longer than average interim occupancy period, where you as the unit owner will have to pay the developer an occupancy fee. This fee does not contribute to your mortgage. This is really only a concern for units that are in the lower half of the tower. Aside from the projections, the other main reason that this project is a buy for me is because of the deposit structure. Now, I usually don't touch on the deposit structure, but this one really caught my eye. Concord Sky is asking for 20% down before occupancy and an additional 5% at occupancy for a total of 25%. This is the highest I've ever seen. I have another video that I can link here that analyzes the changes before the pandemic happened and after the pandemic in terms of deposit structures for pre-construction condos. After the onset of the pandemic, most developers asked for a 15% down before occupancy and the last 5% at occupancy. So in a situation like this, I would rather buy into a project that only requires 20% in total and use the additional 5% as a starter for another investment property, either by myself or to partner up with someone. And considering the prices in this project, 5% is a considerable amount. Okay, whew, that was a long one. If you're still with me, thanks for sticking around until the end, and I hope you enjoyed it and found it informative. Don't forget to keep your eye out for the next poll and make sure to get your vote in. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you soon. Take care.